Did you really think that we were reaching the end? That this game was just going to release without any more last-minute twists in the tail? That we'd finally be getting our hands on Bloodlines 2 at the end of the year as planned? Some people would play it, some people wouldn't bother, but it would finally release, the dust would settle, and we'd all just move on. Absolutely not. This is the modern-day version of Duke Nukem Forever in video game development. It would not be right for this game to release without at least a few more debacles, a few more memories for us to treasure. And with all that said, yes, Bloodlines 2 has been delayed yet again, and sadly I can't even take any credit for predicting this delay, because I really thought this time it was actually going to come out, not because the Chinese room are competent, they've got the game together, they're ready to go, they're a well-oiled machine. I just thought that it would be a mess, but Paradox wouldn't want to spend any more money on it. I mean, the whole reason that the Chinese room are making the game is because Paradox said, all right, we wasted a bunch of money with Hardsuit Labs, we don't want to spend any more if we don't have to. We'll give it to a team who can just do this quickly, get it out, and we can move on forever. That seems to be the motivation of development, but apparently not. Paradox have agreed to give the game a little bit more time in the oven. Now, that being said, this isn't just a normal video game delay. There's plenty of delays where it gets announced, people go, yeah, whatever, and just move on. There's a reason people are going to be laughing at this, clowning on Paradox, clowning on the Chinese room, because if you think of something like Grand Theft Auto 6, it's planned for next year, but we pretty much all know deep down it'll get to maybe midway 2025 and there'll be some message on the Rockstar Twitter. We need more time. We want this to be the best thing ever. It'll come in 2026 instead. It's the same for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, avowed, planned for this year, but they get delayed a little while. That's just par for the course, sadly, in the modern industry. Games get delayed. But with Bloodlines 2, very, very different story, because we've been here 6, 7 times or something like that. Like, when was it announced? I think it was 2019 or something. They announced it, pre-orders up, we're even promising DLC. Now we're here 5 or 6 years later and we've barely even seen the game. Like, this is a title where development hell, rumors of it, murmurs, that was happening in the first couple of years of development. There was a very, very short honeymoon period where we knew Brian Mitsoda, original creator, was involved, and then that all just ended. It's been downhill since then. Development hell, original development team fired, Paradox gives it to a studio, no RPG experience, it's all bad news. The footage you see of the game sucks, even though there's barely anything of it. Pretty much all negative feedback from fans. Delay, cancellation. Now we're here yet again. And I will say this as well, it's definitely funny that the game has been delayed until the middle of next year or the first half of next year. They've said, we'll go over the update in a second, but I can find it funny, but I also can't clown on them too much, because I did ask for this. I did say multiple times, Paradox, the Chinese room, please delay the game, because if it was to release at the end of this year, I don't see any scenario where it's not a total disaster and easily one of the worst games that we've ever seen. I can't think of too many games that have shown this little, despite supposedly coming very, very soon, at least when it did have a 2024 release date. So I was thinking unmitigated flop. Maybe it's so bad that we never see a vampire RPG of any kind, at least any time in the near future. It would be that bad for the RPG genre. So it may not be that. It might release and be in an okay state sometime next year, but I still really do not think it's going to be anything like Bloodlines 1. I still think there's going to be plenty to laugh at. If you are a genuine Bloodlines fan and that's what you're here for, a genuine sequel to the original, it's not just about the Vampire the Masquerade stuff for you, it's really the Bloodlines name, the Bloodlines IP that got you interested. If that's what you're after, I still think we're all going to be very, very disappointed. But to go over the update, it came in the form of a video posted by the World of Darkness YouTube, and it's titled Bloodlines 2 Development Update. So they didn't just come out and say, hey, we've got a message, we're delaying the game. It's an update. They're letting us know they're communicating exactly what's going on, and it was mainly Alex Skidmore, creative director for the game, also Matthew Lilja, deputy CEO for Paradox, and it's a 3-minute video, and to be honest, the entire thing just reeks of damage control. That seemed to be the purpose of the video. It wasn't really to let us know what's going on. It's, Jesus, we've got to delay this yet again, like fan expectation. It's already at rock bottom. They're already laughing at us, and we've got to delay it yet again, the millionth time. So really just damage control, because they never come out and be honest with these delays where they say, hey, we were planning to release the game this year, but we don't really know what we're doing. Like, our time management, it's horrible. Most of our staff have no skills. We've got a writer, senior writer. Their last full-fledged title was Love Island, the game. Now they've got to write serious dialogue, vampire dialogue that lives up to this universe. They can't do that. What are we doing? So never any honesty in just saying, hey, we're disorganized, we need more time, because the game's just not finished. Like, we have to delay this or we don't have a functional product. Instead, it's always like, we're totally in control here. We've got a fantastic game, the joy within the team, we're laughing, we barely have to do any work because we're so far ahead of schedule, but we're just going to delay it anyway because we care about the fans. Give it another 6 months of polish to ensure that you guys get the best game possible. Why is it then every time these games get delayed, when they come out, they still feel like a mess? They're full of bugs. It really feels like it's still in a beta phase, and we're the paying customers who have to test it. We're certainly not getting paid to QA test. But that's basically it. These days, when a game is released, the modern industry, it releases the very day they can get away with it without lawsuits being filed because the players have been scanned. They'll release the game as long as it somewhat functions. That's when it's coming out. The idea that, oh, we're going to polish it all up, make sure it's in a fantastic state, then we'll release it. I certainly don't buy this with Bloodlines 2. I don't buy that excuse with a lot of other games as well. And they quickly recap so we don't have to watch the whole video. And it says, Bloodlines 2 release window has been updated to the first half of 2025. Now, let's be honest. They're not going to say first half, and then it's going to come out in February. Like, if it's first half, it probably is like May or June, if we're being realistic. So it's probably at least another 9-10 months away. I think that's a good thing. If they announced it was just coming in Jan-Feb, I'd expect it to still be a massive disaster, but they really just couldn't get away with it this year. So at least there's a decent amount of time. We'll see if that really makes a difference. And in the rest of the recap, they share that Paradox and the Chinese Room are committed to delivering a high-quality action RPG for vampire fans, new and old, yeah, whatever. Some of the things they're excited about working on with the additional time. Well, how about we scrap Fire, the protagonist? He looks lame. Get rid of that Fabian, the voice in your head. That sounds stupid and just like a Navi from Ocarina of Time. Something to really dumb things down. Get rid of that. Let us create our own character. Let us pick skills. Not like the skills I think I saw in one of the dev diaries where it was all super basic, uninteresting, really dumbed down. In fact, just thinking about it, how about you just scrap the whole game? I think that's the only way at this point that you could make traditional Bloodlines fans happy, but if we're being honest, it's not going to happen at this point, so we'll have to power through. The Chinese Room and Paradox will continue to post frequent updates, including dev diaries, deep dives, and more. There's a big difference between those dev diaries and deep dives. Like, which is it going to be? Like, deep dives is what we need. We've had one of those. And you showed the initial mission, I think it was, like the opening of the game. In the video, the 3-minute video, the creative director claims that they showed Seattle in the dev diaries. I never really saw that. There was maybe like 2 screenshots. You need to show that. It's the only thing that might hype someone up at this point, is to show the supposed hub world of Seattle. Going around Seattle, is there interesting activities, quests? Probably not. That's likely why you're not showing it, because Seattle is just a place to get from point A to point B, go from one mission to the next. There's nothing to actually do. That's what I'm going to expect if you don't show it, because you have to be embarrassed. It should be an exciting part of the game. You're not letting any of us see it. Why are you updating the release window? Well, earlier this year, Paradox reaffirmed our commitment to delivering high-quality games to our players, and the launch update is a proactive decision derived from this commitment. I don't think so, because Paradox gave Chinese Room the game because they were promised that it could come out in quick time and Paradox wouldn't have to spend any more money on it. They could have done the right thing and found a studio or created a studio that wanted to do the right thing, make a great RPG, ensure they get it right, they live up to the Bloodlines name. They chose the cheap option, and they are going to pay for it because the game's now going to take longer to make, and I don't think it's really going to make a difference. People aren't going to like this because it's not going to be like Bloodlines 1. The Chinese room, the developers themselves, like, it's fun to clown on this whole thing, but they're not even really the villains here, because I think they were just dealt a bad hand, where they're used to making walking simulators. They were given this by their own owner. They're owned by Sumo Digital, so I don't think the Chinese room were even the ones who agreed to do it. It was just, you do this, you work for us, make Bloodlines 2. And it's like, we make walking simulators. We don't know anything about role-playing games, combat even. Like, what are we going to do? So they've probably just taken it in the only direction they knew how, which is basically to create story content that resembles a walking sim, follows the same structure, where you make choices, but none of them actually make a difference. You always end up at the same ending destination. But then they've created a combat system, and they were probably proud, oh, the first time there's real gameplay in one of our games where you can fight and do things. So they created that, and they've just meshed the two together. The idea that this will be like a real RPG like the original, I'm not seeing it. If it exists, they're not showing it. What will the additional time be used for? It will be used to create a quality assurance buffer, given more time between testing and launch, ensuring we release the game when it's ready. The extra time gives us an opportunity to adjust certain areas, such as Fabian, and incorporate other community feedback. We will also use the time to expand the game's story, and now Bloodlines 2 will have more than twice as many endings as its predecessor. It sounds like they have a lot to do, really. Like they say in the video, oh, we just want to make sure it's as best as it can be, polish the bugs and all of that. But it sounds like they're still creating content, and that's what I believe. The game is not ready. The content isn't all there. It would be impossible to release it in its current state because it's not playable from start to finish right now, won't be by the end of the year. And that's really the reason for the delay. The game just, it's not ready to go. They need that time to even have a working product. Anything else they're saying, it's damage control, and the fans seem to not be buying this either. They're saying another delay. LMAO, just cancel it already or bring back Brian Mitsoda, you cowards. Good choice. Wait for the right time. Right constellation of stars. This year is choke full of games already. A rare Bloodlines 2 Copa. I haven't seen one of them in a while. Clowns delayed the delay of delay. Should have been allowed or had the humility to finish the Hardsuit Labs game. Not really the fault of the Chinese room. They want to make their own game, but it's called Bloodlines 2 and replaced a true sequel from people who made the original. Kinda true. Again, I don't blame the Chinese room completely for this mess. Paradox, the ones who really just stuffed this up. They had an opportunity to do right by the fans. They knew that the Hardsuit Labs one wasn't working, and they had just like this moment in time where they could have done the right thing, given it to a competent developer. They chose not to, and that's why we're here again with yet another delay. The game is not ready, and we'll just have to see if it's still a disaster when it comes in 2025, or if they can cobble something together that doesn't embarrass them. We will see. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.